Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said when you
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly conversation with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Yesterday, we mentioned legislation has been filed to change in the statutes, to change the term prostitute to legislator. And we're going to see how that, oh no, it's not legislator. What is it again?
It's sex worker.
A person engaged in the sex work, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because prostitute is what, that's insulting?
No, a
What's
prostitute.
like the kind of synonymous? I'm a sex worker. I'm a prostitute. What's
prostitute is reserved for the General Assembly. So I understand you want to provide the professional courtesy.
Okay.
I mean, since Illinoisans already pay to get screwed by their duly elected representatives, I mean, why not? It sort of stands to reason. A big press conference. Represented were prostitutes. Also, women engaged in sex work. This is interesting too. Gosh, I wonder what one could read into it. The organizations represented at this press conference championing the legislation introduced by Representative Will Guzzardi, communist, to legalize prostitution in Illinois. Equality Illinois. That's a LGBTQIA2S plus advocacy organization. And the Chicago Abortion Fund, among others. Let's see, the Identitarian Sexual Orientation Group and the pro-abortion people representing at a press conference to push prostitution legalization. Gee, what a surprise. I wonder if anyone can connect those dots. Mm-hmm. So the argument, of course, is that sex workers live and work in fear of getting caught and potentially losing everything. Even if it's a misdemeanor, you still got to go through the criminal justice system, which is an unforgiving system, said a prostitute named Reina Ortiz at the press conference. Removing any criminal penalties would allow sex workers to vet their clients and allow individuals to report abuse or sex trafficking without fear of prosecution or stigma. It's just really making sure that when we're making these exchanges that we're not so worried about policing of our bodies and also, getting your door kicked in when you're engaging in sex work. People don't really understand that it's really just two adults coming to an agreement. It's transactional. So the decriminalization of prostitution, which is something that we predicted would happen long ago, an effort by the prostitutes in public office in Springfield to eliminate the vice departments. Do they even have them anymore? In the police station and the police departments around the state, of course, because the state wants to get into those rackets, the old mob rackets, and, wet their beak. We need more revenue streams, and maybe this is the last domino to fall with respect to the vices, but I'm sure they'll dream up others. For more on this, Ted joins us now. Ted Dabrowski, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy.
This is exciting. We can, if we legalize whoring yourself out, then we could probably, increase the funding of K through 12 education by a couple of points. So that's the good news.
Yeah, this is, I think, just a continuation of that building of the coalition that includes all the sins And I think you're partially right. This, part of this is sin taxes. You've seen our state budget continue to rely more and more on sin taxes. This one is missing, and it should be part of the portfolio. And it's sad. It's absolutely sad because this is the continued. I don't know, the word isn't the right one, but the continued corruption of our government. And while we see change across the country in most places, the pendulum is still swinging hard, and you can see it. This is their last attempts at bringing in this kind of stuff into the policy world, into the budget world, and it's sad and it's a shame.
I love the argument that was advanced at this press conference. People deserve respect, and work is work. It's very much what I heard with the redefinition of marriage, which is that love is love. Love is love. Work is work. There's no slippery slope there, despite the lack of a limiting principle. So no fear of exploitation. In fact, bringing it out of the shadows and into the light of day, offering the state's imprimatur of approval, that's going to make things a lot better. It's going to lead to a more respectful, productive, inspired society. Does anybody believe that?
Yeah, I think they do. It's hard to define just how far they're taking things in Illinois, and I think about one day when the power does shift at some point, and God knows when that is. Is it soon or is it far away? But the amount of laws that will need to be unwound to bring our society or culture back to where it should be, it will be phenomenal work. I can tell you that. Illinois would be the first state to fully legalize the exchange of money for sex among consenting adults. I thought that was called marriage. Anyway, I digress. On the topic of other vices, Bally's.
Not doing so well, huh?
Casino operator in Chicago, warning investors that, quote, heightened criminality or the perception of danger could torpedo its Chicago casino. First of all, not raking in the money that they expected to date. And then they put this warning out that this criminality or the perception of criminality, because, of course, they don't want to take a position on whether we actually have a crime problem, is jeopardizing the golden goose there.
Well, yeah, I've been in the investment world and the finance world for a long time, and I can tell you this: when you're trying to raise money, which is what Bally's is doing, it's a stock offering for $250 million. When you're trying to raise money, you want to paint the best picture you can of your investment, and when you have to put in there a big disclaimer like that about Chicago and its crime, and then of course you're calling out the fact that that area where they're putting the casino has been has been really troubled over the last 3-4 years. It's a serious comment, and it is capturing the element that we've continued to lose control over, and that's crime and murders. And when you have to put it in your offering circular like that, it's serious business.
Well, the other thing I saw is, they put out this Bally's. All residents are welcome to attend this information session with Bally's Chicago Casino, an investment opportunity.
Right.
That's Tuesday, today, and Thursday. And this is like sponsored by the Chicago City Council Black Caucus and so on and so forth. Since when does a casino have an open call for any Tom, Dick, or Harry to show up and buy some shares?
Well, I'm not sure it's any Tom, Dick, and Harry either. So I tried to sign up for that, and I went in there to get the data, and it was interesting because I didn't spend enough time on it, so I could get it wrong, but I saw a whole bunch of stuff there about being a minority, and
Oh, okay.
Well, what they're trying to do is, again, it's kind of like the pot shops, right? We need to make sure that these sin businesses are owned by the very people who are often negatively impacted by these things, right? So
yeah, but usually don't they have they need whatever 10 or 15% minority ownership, but it's usually the preferred minorities who are successful business people, athletes, and so on and so forth with money. This open call, is that just sort of a process play? They're not really looking for anybody that they don't, the old we don't want nobody sent kind of thing, right?
Well, yeah, this is stock, so I guess anybody could own it. But the question is, are they just doing more signaling to try to show how how woke Bally's is. I don't know. I'd have to read more into it, but I was impressed by that because I had to think about what I was clicking on and saying, are you a minority, that kind of thing.
Right. With the Chicago Teachers Union, the good news is that they've apparently agreed in principle on the economics, most of the economics associated with the new contract, which would guarantee about a 50% raise in the average Chicago teacher's salary from about 90 to about 144 over the course of the contract. But they still have some stumbling blocks around non-economic issues like sanctuary state protections. So it's going pretty well.
Yeah, well, they'll always want the money. Then once they get the money, they'll squeeze for everything else. And if they can't get it, then they'll accept it. But we wrote a piece about this. I think it was yesterday. But this is fascinating that we would still give them such massive increases. You're talking about 5 or 6% in what they call inflation, and then another 3% in what they call steps and lanes and all that stuff. So you're talking about massive increases when the ordinary Chicagoans are just getting whacked by taxes, fees, and fines. And this would be more property taxes because that's how CPS funds itself largely, with property taxes. So the fact that they've agreed on that and get that out of the way is sad because that means everyday Chicagoans are going to get whacked. And then you start taking into account all the other DEI stuff, and it's hell for Chicago. And I think all this stuff that's going on in California and everywhere else is just showing how incompetent leadership is. We haven't figured that out in Chicago, but every day the incompetence keeps showing up.
Well, you suggesting your wirepoints.org that they implement a salary freeze instead of that 9% yearly raise.
Yeah, right.
And they're not
it's kind of embarrassing, right? Because even saying a salary freeze is kind of embarrassing because CPS needs a much bigger whack than that. It needs a whole total reconstitution. We need universal school choice and all that. But I just said it needs to be said because I guess the argument for how we talk about CPS is are we trying to just hang on, keep the city intact until we can finally get change, or are we just going to let it collapse and hopefully collapses really fast so we can get to bankruptcy and things like that? And it's a really confusing thing to talk about CPS and calling for a salary freeze. It's silly, but that's the kind of stuff that should be happening. They should be firing people. They should be having a salary freeze. They should be doing universal school choice. None of which they'll do today. Not with a CTU activist like Mayor Johnson, with his CTU cronies that he's negotiating with.
Well, he's still a CPS employee. I mean, he told Marion Ahern, like, well, you're on hold, but you still work. You're still a part of CPS, and you're on leave, but you're still, part of the negotiations for a company that you work for. Yeah,
I mean, I think in Chicago, does that matter? Kind of thing.
No,
it's all baked in.
No.
But what do you think the future of Stacy Davis Gates is after, she's coming under fire for comparing CEO Pedro Martinez to a special education student who can't be suspended? Because there were some delegates at that meeting who are special education advocates, parents with kids with special needs. They called her comments appalling and heartbreaking. One special ed teacher who, didn't want to be identified told WBEZ that it displayed an alarming lack of understanding about special ed and that they were appalled and heartbroken.
Well, I can give you my answer there too. It doesn't matter. Those people probably get kicked out if they're not careful. And Stacy Davis Gates is fighting for their 9% yearly raises and all this stuff. So she's probably safe, until the real takeover happens. But for now, nobody's going to care about that. There'll be some performative things said, but in the end, she can say whatever she wants. And
safe. She's going to be our next mayor. Yeah, you're talking about our next mayor, so you better watch your mouth, mind your P's and Q's. Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Thanks, Ted.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing